Hello fellow stackers, O'Brien here. I just wanted to do a quick video and discuss, really some of the, banking crisis, if you will. It's, things are just happening so fast now, it's hard to even keep up with all the news, not the mainstream news, which doesn't really tell you anything these days, but the, any real independent news sources. I think it's important to kind of be on top of a lot of that. There's a lot of different channels out there for it, and one really good one I've been listening to has been Redacted. They've got YouTube, and they're on, I think, Rumble, and they've got their own website or something too. But I usually just listen on YouTube at least. But there's a lot of good channels out there for some independent journalism and stuff. But with the banking collapse, there's some saying this is on purpose, and some say it's not. I don't know on that. I think I could see both sides of it. I think they're kind of between a rock and a hard place, and it's interesting because I was thinking today too that the same people that want globalism, and they pretend, on the surface, they pretend to, work hand in hand on a lot of things. I think, what's kind of leading more and more to war, though, is at the same time, everyone's trying to prop up their own fake fiat currencies. Okay, so people, the U.S. Wants to keep their fake dollars propped up to be the reserve currency of the world. Europe has, the euro, and obviously the Chinese currencies, the rubles in Russia, and all this stuff. So if you think about it, I think really what a lot of the war stuff is really about, it's about resources, but it's also about the financial stability. But who's going to end on top in terms of currency, in terms of who's going to be able to control the economic system, and that's where they feel like that's where they're going to wage their control and their power. That's all the governments, I think, are all vying for stuff. And so we see a lot of these things happening, and some say the SVB bank collapse thing, and Silicon Valley thing, and some of the other ones recently, Community Bank, that some are saying this was an attack on cryptos. Maybe I could, and some of that could just be secondary. Some of these things, I'm not so sure that it was that they were going to be able to stop it anyway. And I think, as this collapse unfolds, there's less and less. There's really nowhere to go for the Federal Reserve and the government. There's very little wiggle room left. If they do A, it causes other problems. There's ripple effects everywhere. So if they make a change on A, then the bottom falls out in B. Or if they do plan B, then the A falls out. So it's just, no matter really what they do with interest rates, printing money, we're going to see more inflation. So really, no matter what they do, they're really at a rock and a hard place right now, and that's, and that just means that we're at the end of a currency life cycle. So it means it's about to be dead and buried. Now, what exactly the time frame is, obviously, I don't know. We don't know for sure. But all the signs are there, and it's the fact that it's speeding up like a locomotive, and the stuff comes fast and furious now, and the fact that this, literally, this bank collapsed in 48 hours, like this, SVB and Community and stuff. It was like, what was it, 48 hours? They went from, a week ago, mainstream was, thinking it was a good investment, so within 48 hours, they were basically out of business, and they were shut down, taken over. So that it's that speed of issues that we need to monitor, because that just means things are happening so fast. And then also you can go from them, the Fed or the government with their lies and pandering and propaganda, that they can come out either one day or even within hours. 1 minute everything's hunky-dory, the next minute we're bailing out everyone 100%. So, this kind of rash, drastic things that they're trying to do is also just to prop up the bank. And the worst part is on this, Silicon Valley stuff is that they're basically bailing out their buddies, their rich buddies, their rich companies, the Mark Cubans and the Gavin Newsoms, these losers like that over there in California. They're totally worthless. But they're bailing out their rich, but their rich are getting bailed out. And this is, I guarantee you, if this was a Republican in office, and if Trump was in office and he bailed them out, I guarantee you, all of mainstream media, they'd be talking about this is a bailout of the rich. But this is, but when the Democrats do it, mum's the word, no one says a word about it. So, but this is make no mistake, it is a bailout of the rich. Doesn't matter about FDIC, blah blah blah. FDIC didn't have enough money to cover all this, so that means they're going to be printing money to cover 100% of the assets at the bank. So they're bailing out. It's not necessarily bailing out the bank as much as it is they're bailing out their buddies, their rich buddies, and their rich tech companies, and the rich woke companies in particular here in California. They're bailing them out. So, we all know the old adage, go woke, go broke. And we see that here, go woke, go broke in Silicon Valley, California. The tech sector has been been very, very hit hard. And so, they're literally going broke. But now the government's got to step in, because these are companies that promote, equality and equity and ESG, blah, 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 all the green energy and all this kind of stuff. So they got to prop up the propaganda and stuff. So, because of climate change or whatever. The same narrative the Nazis had used as well. So, but that's kind of what we see. And I was doing some numbers the other day, because I've even heard some say that gold, we never know for sure how much it's going to go up when the dollar collapses. But that's going to be the key. As the dollar collapses, then the gold will shoot up significantly at some point. Again, we don't know when. But I've even heard numbers as much as 50,000 an ounce, for example. And if that happens, if you think about, if you just looking at some numbers, just to get a ballpark idea of that, what that might look like. So like a 1 ounce gold, let's just say gold bullion, and let's just say on average, right? Let's just say it's 2,000 an ounce currently, roughly. Well, if 1 ounce goes to 50,000, so we're talking 25 times the price. It would basically go up 25 times, right? And so any coin, even like, potentially, if that happens, even something like, this little, like a little Mexican dos peso, which is, really these are about $100 to $120, in the current market right now, depending on the condition of it. But the that could easily, jump up 20 times 25. So it'd be, so that little thing could be worth $2,500 in that type of market, And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly that. We don't know. But just to kind of give a little idea on some of this. And of course, some of the stuff I get is more collector's stuff too, which I feel like gives me more protections in terms of confiscations as well. That historically we have seen happen. I know some people don't like the talk of confiscation. It can be unnerving, especially when it's actually happening and stuff. But that has historically happened in the U.S. In the past. So it is something we got to be leery of and conscious of. So I would not want to have. I don't really buy gold bullion that much. I do have a few. I've got a few things there, but the little mini bar things. But normally I don't really buy too much of that. If I were to have to sell, then that I would sell. If I had to sell some gold, then these are the first to go in my stack. Okay, other than silver, of course. But yeah, so but just kind of give you that little idea on that. I was just doing some numbers, and it was quite interesting to think, if it did jump up that much, or even if it was 20 times or 15 times or whatever. But with that, it also kind of made me realize the ultimate plan here for people that for us stackers. So as the dollar collapses, this jumps up for gold and silver. Then that's the time to use these assets, use your gold and silver to buy assets. Okay, that's your time to be able to pay off debts. Is another big thing. So pay off your debts so that they're not going to try to trap you, because they're saying that the debts will, most likely they will try to roll over the debts into the new system. Okay, and they're also trying to go to the CBDCs. Well, I don't want CBDCs, and that's something else that we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to figure out is, we need other types of other markets, and so my hope is that we the people are going to come up with other markets, maybe even using silver and gold on local levels. Maybe a black market will form in general, things like that. But I think the people are going to have to rise up and refuse CBDCs. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy to do so, but if we want to keep any sense of freedom, there's not going to be a choice, in my opinion. We're going to have to decline, even if they want to give us free CBDCs. And again, this is why it's going to be so important to be out of debt in that new reset. It's going to be important to be out of debt. And so, and then again, if you're not out of debt, then I think gold is a great option there, because if you think about, even if you have if you've got a couple of 1 ounce gold coins, and if that jumps up to 50,000 a coin, or even if it's half of that, even if it's 25,000 an ounce or something like that, 20,000 an ounce. If you can take you can take a couple of coins and go pay off something, go pay off your student loans, go pay off your car, go pay off your house, your homestead, whatever, credit cards, even things like that. So the fewer debts you have going into this, the better. And then also having some gold backed up so you can pay them off quickly once the dollar is gone and pretty much done, or at its death knell. Then you can go ahead, take some of your gold, pay off your debts, and then also you can also acquire assets like like buying houses and homesteads and things like that. Use your precious metals to purchase assets, and ideally, what'll happen is, it's going to also be a deflationary depression, most likely. So while there's hyperinflation, also prices will be deflated on assets. So that house you're looking at now that's $300,000 or more, depending on what market you're in, then in a deflationary environment, that may be good. That people might be willing to take much less. Some say as much as 90%. It could take a 90% hit. So it's hard to even fathom that kind of pricing in today's markets. It's hard to fathom. So imagine, what if I take one gold coin like this, that the dollar's pretty much collapsed, or it's, with hyperinflation. I take 1 or 2 coins like this and buy a homestead, buy a ranch locally. Maybe it already has a lot of stuff on there for me. Maybe it already has chicken coops and all that stuff. So then you take 1 or 2 coins. I buy some land and a house with it. I take a few more. I pay off my student loans. Whatever. And but it has helped me in thinking about how this is going to play out. And so I just wanted to kind of mention some of that, and that's how I'm kind of seeing it and understanding it myself now, how it may play out. Now it may not be exactly to that extent, but and obviously in that kind of environment it can be very dangerous. Trading and things like that can be very dangerous in that kind of environment with violence rising and things like that. So there will be some things to consider in terms of safety as well. Stuff. So I'm not going to pretend it's going to be easy to operate in that type of environment by any means and stuff. So, but I still think ultimately there's still going to be people out there that they're also going to want to get out. They're going to have to get out of debt. They're going to have to. If you're starving, even if you have a roof over your head for a little while, the bank's coming knocking on your door, and they're gonna foreclose on you anyway. You're going to have to find a way to get out of that situation. So people are going to, even if you're taking a huge loss on it, you're going to do what you got to do to feed your family. You're going to do what you got to do to survive and stuff too. So, but just a couple of thoughts, and be careful having too much money in these banks. whenever I have a little extra money, I get nervous knowing there's cash in the bank. It makes me nervous. So a lot of times I go cash out some, and with that, sometimes I'm riding pretty close to my threshold of paying bills and stuff like that. Sometimes I've got to kind of watch myself, or I don't take out too much, but it makes me nervous thinking if I have too much cash in the system right now, because you just never know what's going to happen tomorrow at this point. So don't have too much cash in the bank. Put some aside at home, and also your precious metals. Usually when I have some, I like to put it in metals. So, but keep on stacking, guys. I'll be talking to you soon.